Hello, I'm Valerie McLennan. Good evening, good afternoon, good morning, wherever you may be. I hope you're well. This is my spiritual channel, Valerie Mac, Scottish, spiritual, and very funny. Allegedly. If you've been following me a while, thank you very much. I hope you continue to follow me throughout 2026. And if you're a new listener, thanking you. And may I ask you to revert back and listen to my previous podcasts. Thanking you in advance. Thank you. This is Sunday. I know, this is a bonus. A bonus. I just felt one of those silly little moods. I thought I've got two or three little just one-liners, maybe two, maybe three lines. I thought I'll share it with you. I believe it's a holiday weekend. There's so many holiday weekends. I'm confused. I am. The first Monday in August, seemingly is a holiday in Scotland. I know. Don't know why this year I've forgotten about it. But anyway, tomorrow, seemingly for some, is a holiday Monday. So I thought you might just be sitting there. You might have more time than normal. Then again, maybe you're not off. I don't know the answer to any of the above. However, I just thought I'd come on, give you a little bonus, kind of, a few liners. Don't you worry, I have a life lesson. And the life lesson is actually regarding the importance of your birthday. This is my birthday month. And are you just wanting us all to know it's your birthday? Well, there is that. But there's a point and there's a life lesson regarding your birthday, not just mine, everyone's birthday. So if you're interested in that, my thoughts regarding everyone's birthday, please wait until the end. I'll try and keep this to just 20 minutes. I've got a few 1, 2, 3 liners. Hopefully make you laugh. If you don't guffaw with laughter, you might even smile. Something. They're just something. Now, some of them are quite silly. But, as I've mentioned previously, I quite like the silly little, things that happen in life. Too many people take themselves far too seriously. I'll break this earth-shattering news. Not one of us will get out of here alive. Not one of us. No. By the end of time, we will all leave the same, So why would you take yourself so seriously at this point? It's a ponderous question. I wasn't even going here. Why are so many wearing a mask in life, pretending they're something they're not, depending on your past? If you've had, if there've been challenges in the past, some put a mask on like a wall. They're walking around with this kind of wall. They're assuming that they're protecting themselves, protecting their heart. They've been emotionally hurt. No one will ever hurt me again. I'll tell you, I'll get in there first before anyone else, that kind of thing. So many people in life have an exterior that they're trying to put into the world that's very tough, very hard. And the reason underneath is maybe on different things in life. We will all face those situations. Listen, I could be offended on an hourly basis. I meet the same kind of characters as you. I could take offence. I could be quite easily insulted. To be generous, I could say on an hourly basis. Honestly, people in life tend not to consider your feelings a lot of the time. On this path, you've got to kind of train your mind into not allowing it to absorb. So although I'm on this path, I am no different to you. That's my point. I'm working up to my jokes. You don't have to wear a kind of a wall around you. You don't have to, just because of other people have treated you one way in the past or whatever, don't you take that on as your reality. Now, I wasn't even going to go there. I just feel I want to say that just now because there are people that I know, you often hear people saying, see, when you really get to know this person, they're really soft-hearted underneath. Now, that's because they don't want to show that part of themselves because they feel, they might not articulate it this way, but they don't want to show any vulnerability. So over the years, if they've been hurt, etc., it's a natural thing. If you let that absorb, you build a wall. So you are putting this into the world. There's nothing can get to me, nothing, and you're trying to put up this exterior. You're better getting rid of all that. And just from this second forward, be yourself. If you feel vulnerable, show it. Who cares? Everyone in the world has that type of thing. There's nobody really, in all the people I've spoken to in my life, even high-level people, wherever they are in the world, most of them, I would assume, and many that I know, would say they feel feelings of being vulnerable. Their past has left them emotionally, shattered on many different levels. Their childhood, growing up, all of that. Maybe I know people that their parents didn't really... back at that time, their parents didn't really show that kind of softer side, the way people tend to do now. So some people now who are maybe 50, 60, 70s and up, they weren't really shown that type of affection when they were younger. The parents probably didn't mean it. It was just the way they were. Their parents were the same. Their parents were the same. But it can be across like that now. So there's many people in that age group I speak to now who are walking around this world, even unaware of this wall that they'd built around themselves, because there was maybe a lack of affection way, way back then in the younger growing up. And since that day, without even knowing it, they built this up that nobody is really, they're kind of trying to protect their heart without putting it that way. They're trying to protect their emotions. So they're not showing that to the world. Can I just tell you, each and every one, the majority of people, if not everyone, has a story to tell, something that's been, hurts that have been there, people that have been offended, all of this stuff. Each and every one of us are carrying something. On this path, what you've got to do is not allow it to really steal your future. And if you live your life wearing a mask, trying to protect your heart all the time, not showing the world I'm not vulnerable, I'm going to walk around here as if I was made of concrete, nothing to see here, nothing. You're only really hurting yourself. That's all. Now, I wasn't even going there, but I just briefly, I'll probably elaborate on that during the week, because there's many people, as I said, if you've been around that type of thing where there's been a lack of that kind of emotion or affection, not deliberate, just the kind of times where people were living, they didn't really show it the way they do now. As I said the other day in the little funny jokey one, everyone now is love you, love you, love you, to the other extent, where there was maybe a lack of that years ago. People didn't think it was cool then. It's not very cool to do that. Do you know, but people and parents and everybody, you just assumed that was there at that time. But there are people now, as I said, 50, 60, 70s and beyond, who are still carrying that in their psyche from their childhood because they didn't feel that type of love at that time. As I said, I'll touch on this again later on. I'm tying it in with the birthday. So the life lesson at the end, if you look on each and every birthday as a new opportunity. Now I'll go there. I want to tell you my little funny jokes first, just leading you in so that if that's up your street and you wish to listen, wait until I've told you the funny little stories and I'll kind of touch on that a little bit there and then I'll elaborate, because obviously this is like a 20-minute podcast and the life lessons I'm giving you, there's a clue in the title, life lessons. It goes right through our life, our life spell, time on earth. So I'm only giving you little nuggets, If you wanted more than that, you'd have to hear me speaking some other time. Thank you. Now, I just heard, they came into my mind the other day, I'd heard a few little funny things. And you know me, I just share it with you. If I make you laugh, that's it. My work here is done. Now, one that made me laugh, as I said, it's a little silly thing. And it was, people were asking those kind of situations to a group of adults, any kind of funny things that you remember that happened when you were younger. And a woman said, I was in a work, and a woman said, oh, do you know, I can still remember when I was 12 years of age. Was she Scottish? Yes, in this joke. She was 12 years of age, and she was writing, it was her grandma's birthday. So she was writing a card to her grandma, and she worded the card, and she said in her little 12-year-old way of expressing this, she'd written in the card, "You're a great grandma. Love from Louise." And the grandma nearly fainted because the grandma thought she was telling her she was pregnant. She thought she was saying, "You're a great grandma." Do you get it? She was meaning you're a great grandma. And she read it thinking, I got it the first time. Listen, somebody might have missed. She thought she was saying you're a great grandma as if she was pregnant. Anyway, she said, I'm 45 now. I'm still cringing. She says, to see my face of my granny. My granny? Oh, put you in my granny. Oh, I thought you were meaning that a different way. Hen. Nobody says that now, do they? Yes, they do. People do say hen. Anyway, the other one, a woman was saying, I could just imagine doing this. How embarrassing. A woman that was walking into her dentist's surgery, and the dentist had come walking over to the door to hold it, just with manners. He'd walked over to the door and he was just opening the door to let her in. But she missed it. Maybe my dentist and you another appointment. Anyway, so she was going, he'd opened the door and she walked in, but she misread the situation and she kissed him on both cheeks. She leaned over and went, oh, kiss, kiss. And I think the dentist was stunned. Everyone was stunned. Then she realised what she'd done. And she says, I think it was about another 4 years before I went back for the treatment. I was so embarrassed. She went, oh, Lena, kiss, kiss, kiss. Anyway, Listen, 1, 2, 3 liners, I told you. The other one, it was a girl that was saying that someone that she knew, and this is again misheard, miscommunication, etc. Someone that she knew that had phoned up a baker shop to make a birthday cake for her daughter. But her daughter was a real fan of Mariah Carey. Oh, it's easy for you to say, hen. I know, I'll say that again, hen. So the daughter was a real fan of Mariah Carey. And whoever it was ordered the cake. The cake came in the big box, made the big fancy thing. The daughter was sitting there and opened the lid, and it said Marie Curie. I know, I'm just saying, listen, I just said lack of communication. That was what it was. Another one. If you're younger, this might make you laugh. Even if you're older and you still remember this type of thing. No, it was a woman, and she said she remembered when she was younger. She was attending like a health club. I don't know if it was like a gym, a leisure centre, something along those lines. Anyway, she had a little crush on one of the guys that were standing behind the counter. I think he was one of the fitness kind of guys. And she was only young. And she says she walked in and she thought, I'll kind of do a wee flirty thing. Now, this is when cash. Do you remember that thing when people had money? Yeah. She had a few pennies in her pocket, whatever it was, the cash. And she thought to be all flirty, whatever. She thought all the girls fancied this one guy. So she thought, right, I'll do it. So she thought, I'll throw my money up with a wee flourish just to kind of catch his eye and have a little. She threw the money up. And he missed, and it went all over the floor, and he spent the next 10 minutes going underneath the counter trying to find the money, and they were busy. And she says, instead of flirting with him, he was fuming. He was away under the thing. Now, on that joke, I was thinking, see, that wouldn't work today. Why not? Well, the reason being that young people tend not to use cash, unless I'm mistaken. Maybe some do. And I was thinking, what would they do now? They would have to throw their phone, because most people have got their banking on their phone or on their card. So now, if they don't have cash, this is me turning a joke into my, I'm thinking that wouldn't work now. Some of them would have to throw their phone and nearly break their jaw or hit them in the face with their phone. They wouldn't have cash. So they thought, here, take that, and they'd have to throw their phone, maybe break his teeth, maybe break his jaw, whatever it is, or throw their bank card across the floor. Do you know? I don't think what on earth's wrong with that person. Do you know? So this is what I keep saying. If it was cash, you can maybe still do that. Doesn't work now. So as I keep saying, there's an emotional cost to every decision you're making in your life. You've ruined that for yourself now. You can't even flirt with cash. No. Oh, how can I do that? So everything's on my blooming phone. Well, is that my problem? No. What was my other one? I think I had another one. Oh yeah, this is just a little silly one. It was someone that was saying that they'd gone for, I think they must have gone into the medical profession, something along those lines, and they were doing the health questionnaire thing. So they'd filled it in. And the doctor, or whoever it was that was doing the thing, was kind of sitting opposite them the way they do on the desk. And he was going through the answers. And he said, I think it was a young bloke, and he said to the doctor said to the bloke, oh, you've had amnesia. And he says, pardon? And he said, it says, you've written on your form that you've had amnesia. I says, oh no, I meant anemia. I'm just talking about how get words wrong. He was anemic, and he said, had anemia. Oh no, amnesia. Oh, who on earth had that? Now, this is my final one. Thank goodness for that. How dare you? I'm just working up to my birthday thing. The other one, I think I told this to someone the other day. I heard this a couple of days. I thought it was quite funny. It was a man, and he was at the doctor's. They're all the blooming doctors. Well, I know, because they're not getting any sleep. They're looking in their phones. Did you listen to my podcast a couple of days ago? Yeah, well, go listen back to that one. This will all make sense if you listen back. I know. So anyway, this chap was at the doctor's, and the doctor was just kind of doing a routine, asking him questions. And, do you get much exercise? So this bloke said, I do, actually. He says, I walk for miles. Every day, I actually walk. And walk for miles every day. I'm actually quite proud of myself, actually. He says, and I have to kind of walk through an awful lot of rough terrain, if I'm honest with you. It's not just ordinary walking. I have to go through all this rough terrain and along there and along there. And the doctor said, oh, that's good. He says, what's this? Is this a new kind of health kick or something you have? He says, no, not really, doctor. I'm just a rubbish golfer. Did you get that? I'm just waiting to see if you laugh. I'm just a rubbish golfer. I'm away through all the rough terrain. I can't find that ball any blooming place. I'm just saying that in case you didn't get it. You don't need to explain that joke to us. I got that. Yeah, well, indeed. Thank you for listening. Did any of them make you laugh? I like those little funny ones. You just imagine all those little embarrassing things. Like, wherever, again, it goes back to what I was saying the other day. when you're busy, you're not really focusing, you're not thinking, like the woman that told the bus driver she loved him, all of that, if that makes no sense, it means you didn't listen to my podcast yesterday or the day before. Could you go back? You'll find them amusing and full of wisdom. You will. The same as that person I just told you now, the woman running into the dentist, and the dentist just been gentlemanly, held the door open. And for some sake, she thought it was like sometimes if you're meeting family, whoever it is, and leaned forward, kissed both cheek, and then realised it was the dentist. What on earth am I doing? Why, I didn't even kiss him once, I kissed him twice. I think it was about 4 years before I went back. I think he told me I needed a fill-in or something. I went back to him again. I couldn't face him. He must have dined out in that story. Why was he coming in kissing me? I was only opening the door. Anyway, this is my point. If you're not concentrating. Now, what time am I at? 15. I'm trying to keep it to 20 or 25. Now, this is my birthday month. Do you know I find this really strange? Every August. This is. Are you sitting down? Got a pen? Got a pen, a bit of paper. Every single August since I arrived on planet Earth, it's been my birthday. I know. Isn't that astounding? You think some years would be a different month? No. Every August since I arrived on Earth, it's my birthday. I won't give you the date, I'm not kind of hinting for a card or anything, you know what I mean? Now, I want to tie it in with the important, like what I was saying at the beginning. If you're going through life trying to push your emotions down, Now, the reason I'm saying this briefly is because I've had conversations over the months, over the years, and there's a thread goes through everyone, whether they're high level in business, whether there's someone in the street, whether there's someone here, we are all human beings. And we all are open, and tendency is that we can be hurt and offended right through to our core of our being if we allow it. That's all. It's as simple as that. And it's not easy not to allow it, because as I said a couple of days ago, some people I've known in my own life had made a career path out of trying to be dismissive, insulting, everything you can think of that we all share in life. I could let that attach itself to me for the rest of my life on planet Earth. Now, I would have two choices there. I could either keep pushing the emotions down and pretending I'm not aware of it. I'm pretending, so you've got two choices. So you're feeling the hurt and you're feeling all of that, but you're pretending to yourself and to the world that you don't. So what's happening there is you're pushing the emotions down, pushing them out. Try not to think about it. I'm trying not to think about it. I know that's terrible. Did you see that? Oh. And what you're doing is you're pushing that down, and it's going to 100% affect my health. I'll just talk for myself. It would affect my health, because those emotions have got to go somewhere. So if I spent the rest of my life, as I said, and I'm not joking when I say that, I could get offended by the way people react, definitely on a weekly basis. I know. I think when you're on this path, I don't know if people just do it deliberately or what it is, because sometimes you could, and they can be really, sometimes you're just kind of thinking, is this for real? Is this a comedy? This is a comedy. If you don't catch it and you don't allow it, and you realise you don't have to, people can offer criticism. You don't have to accept it. And it's not easy to do, but I have worked on that over the years. And I thought, the last thing I'm doing at this stage of my life is to let someone else's poor behaviour become my reality. Do you know? And this is what I'm saying to you. There's so many people now in their 50s, 60s, 70s and beyond that I know and I speak to who are still carrying emotional wounds from their parents. And it might not, and maybe some of them did have maybe very, very challenging upbringings. Do you know? I'm trying to be kind of vague, but some people that I know of who were even quite high up in the workplace, etc. And I'm talking about people probably at the time I was speaking to them would have been in their 50s and 60s at that time, because they were still working. But they were maybe brought up with an alcoholic parent, put it that way, at that time. And the people I'm talking about were still carrying that as if it was yesterday in their being. But what they had done all their life was they thought if they didn't talk about it, don't mention it, that nobody in the world would know about it. But obviously, when they were in those situations, everyone around them knew about it, because they couldn't hide that type of thing. Everyone was aware of it. And this person I was speaking to was saying, they realised in hindsight, everybody knew, but they just thought, ignore it, turn a blind eye, pretend nothing's there. And they lived their entire life trying to pretend that part of their life didn't exist. Because obviously they carried a bit of shame with them for no reason, because it was something that was in their child growing up. So what they did was they spent their entire life focusing on the material kind of thing. Buy a bigger house, get a bigger house, get a bigger car, get a bigger house. So they were trying to keep the world looking there. But what was happening was they were ignoring the feeling, because no matter what they were buying on the material world, they still felt that inwardly. And the last thing they would do would be to get into a conversation with anyone about it, because they were trying to put on a face, as we mean about the mask, put a face on it, don't own it, pretend that's nothing to do, nothing to see here, nothing to do there, but it would affect their health. And this particular person that I knew at that time suffered terribly with different health issues. And I'm trying not to say he or she or whatever, but this person knew exactly that it was coming from there in her child. Well, I've just said her, in her childhood at that time, because she remembered all of the years when that was going on. But it was coming out in different ways with her, like headaches and migraines and all of that, on a very, very severe level. And she realised it was only after she started to kind of talk about it and face that she realised it eased from within, because she was carrying that into her work. And probably, as I said at that time, she was maybe 50, well, she's well retired now. She's probably 70 odd now. She was a lot older than me. But so she'll be well into her kind of retirement now. But she, on one, and the only way she mentioned it was because it was blatantly obvious in her health, because she was suffering a lot with panic attacks and different things in the workplace. So she was kind of forced into discussing what was the cause. And from that second on, the minute she started talking about it, her problems started to ease. All of the years of suppressing emotions and nothing to see here, and putting a wall up and a mask and everything, and trying to kind of not let the world see the real her. It was like chalk and cheese. The person that she was showing the world was a very high-powered businesswoman. Very high-powered. You would say very, very cold, because the kind of exterior was very cold and quite kind of, quite standoffish, quite cold that way. But the real her was the opposite to the her. The real her was very soft and vulnerable and emotional, but she didn't want the world to see that, because she'd been so hurt in her childhood growing up with all this emotional stuff, trying to hide this. There's so many people in the world have issues. We're all on earth with challenges. I keep saying this. We'll have different challenges. Maybe everyone doesn't have that type of challenge. Other people are going to have an awful lot of physical problems. Other people will have emotional problems. But the common thread between each and every one of us is we will face challenges of some kind. So if you're going through your life trying to make out you're someone you're not, try not to let the world see the softer side of you, you're not helping yourself, and you're not kidding anyone, you're not fooling anyone, you're just going to affect your health. And to be quite honest, how on earth is the world going to heal if everyone's going round pretending they're someone they're not? You're not help. You're no use nor ornament to anyone else. Because sometimes if you're going through something and you discuss it and someone else has had the same experience, you think, oh, goodness sake. You feel as if you're the only person that's ever had gone through an experience. And then if someone else says the same thing, you see people's shoulders drop. Their shoulders drop right down and they start to relax, because they've been tense for so long, pretending there's something for so long. Now, I'm tying this in with the birthday thing. It's my birthday month. I know. I look, especially in the last number of years, I look in my birthday as a fresh opportunity to change things in my life that I'm not really, if I feel things have, there's parts of my life that I no longer need, or of doing things. It could even be work related or anything. If you feel that there's parts of your stuff, we're supposed to keep growing in life. And if there's parts of your life that you've used to as much as you can, you've grown as much as you can as certain things, you should really look at changing different parts of your life. This is what I do. So I look particularly towards a birthday. I think, right, look how quick that year has gone. Feels like about 10 minutes. I know. But if you're looking at it and I think, well, if there's parts of my life that I feel now are kind of outdated, that they're not really doing any good for me in my life. They're not going to push me forward. They're just going to sit there like a comfort zone. There's something that's just comfortable. I don't want anything just comfortable in my life. Unless you're being challenged, you're not growing. So especially now, as I said, towards a birthday month, I do start to focus on things. It doesn't have to be anything earth-shattering, but I just kind of look and think, well, as I said, it could be work-related, it could be anything, health, whatever. And I think, right, what can I change here that will take me forward even in a different way towards the next year? Or I don't want to keep doing the same thing, because you only grow when you're pushing yourself a little bit out of your comfort zone, or if you're kind of moving yourself forward. If you keep sticking in a comfort zone, you don't really grow. This is what I keep saying. It's a horrible way of putting it, but you only really grow through the challenges that we have in life. So don't allow yourself to get stuck there and accept, oh, look at all the challenge, look at the sad, look at all the each and every one of us are in the same sugary boat. We're all facing different things. But I just wanted to tie that in. I know so many people that they are, and even, as I said, 50, 60, 70 and above seems to be the ones that I've spoken to more recently, who have admitted, and they're carrying all of they don't admit it freely. It's usually when I'm talking to them and the conversation starts to kind of go that way. It would surprise you. I'll tell you something. It has surprised me, the number of people, and it might be just the age bracket there that I mentioned that I had been talking to, that are so similar. And a lot of it has something to do with, just in this particular situation, it could be an alcoholic parent in the past, or it could be that their parents they felt they were quite cold emotionally. They didn't mean to be, but they had just taken it that way, and they've carried it all the way through their life. Instead of thinking, well, the parents were probably just like that because maybe their parents were like that. It's learned behaviour. And I did say this to them. Like maybe if your parents were cold, look back at their parents, look back at the parents before then, and you see the pattern. You see the pattern. If you were brought up with someone that was very different, they didn't find it easy to show emotion, look back at their parents, because it's very, very seldom, not impossible, but very seldom you'll find a parent that finds it quite hard to show emotion. It doesn't mean they don't feel it. It's just that they find it hard to express it with words. And if you look back a generation, a lot of the time you'll say, oh, there it's there, because one of their parents were the same, and it's learned behaviour. And so that'll only change if you change. So if you keep carrying that and thinking, imagine the kind of thread going through there. So if a parent was, as I said, it doesn't mean they didn't feel the love or they didn't feel the care. Maybe they just couldn't express it. They themselves, probably today, if you said it to them, they would admit probably they weren't happy with themselves, probably that they couldn't show it the way they felt that. But you can stop it. You don't need to keep carrying that like a personal thing to yourself. Just understand that's the way they were brought up. That's the way they were. It's all learned behaviour. So instead of carrying it into an age now where it should all be in the past, just think, well, they did the best with what they could do. They did the best with what they had. I don't want to keep carrying this forward forever. So the best way to heal yourself in those situations is for you not to become the same. For you to think, right, from this blooming minute on, I don't care if the world sees a vulnerable side, a softer side. What's wrong with a vulnerable side? Or what's wrong with a softer side emotionally? I wouldn't want to look like a big hard case. Do you know what I mean? I wouldn't want to walk around pretending I was this real kind of, this big kind of hard outer shell and all, if I didn't feel that way inwardly. Because you're only fooling yourself, and you're only going to damage your health, because you're living a lie. You're not living who you are. So I just wanted to tie that in. My birthday is this month. So instead of, some people say, oh no, and they look at a number and they go, oh, for goodness sake, but look at they focus on the number, they make it all about just whatever it is. It shouldn't, obviously enjoy your birthday, but it's not really. You should look on it, suggestion. Change the things in your past, especially on that day. Focus on it and think, this is a new year. I'm going to change the things and I'm going to grow. I'm going to get rid of emotionally the stuff I don't want. I'm not carrying it into another year. I'm going to go into a new year, a new birthday, with an absolute, this is a word I'm not keen on because it's thrown about kind of in a trendy way, but the authentic side of yourself. Show the world the real you. The real you. There's nothing wrong with the real version of you. And if you know yourself, if you're behaving, if you're hiding, if you're pretending, what's the point in that? I would just say, start from today, show the world the real you. If we were all just real and authentic, not really keen on that word, as you said, I know, so did I. But just be yourself. You will feel better. The energy around you will feel better. People will feel that you're more, real, because people detect that. I can detect that at 100 paces if somebody's not being themselves. You just feel it. You can sense it because it doesn't gel. And I would just say focus on your birthday. And you don't have to. If your birthday just been, don't you say, all right, then I'll do it next year. My birthday was yesterday. I'm going to wait till next year. No, you will not wait till next year. Just do it today or tomorrow. If tomorrow never comes, do today. Today. You will thank me later. You will. Get rid of all that stuff. It's all dead wood. It's all dead wood. And you're just carrying that. I remember, it was a bloke I was speaking to, and this was a couple of years ago, he was kind of carrying a lot of that stuff with him, and it was to do with a parent. It was his father, I think it was, and he said, well, I know it was, and he said at that time his father was very cold. He took it, in hindsight, he realised his father wasn't really cold. He was one of this lot that couldn't show it, but he probably felt the care and the love as deep as anyone else, but he couldn't show it to this man. And he, as a grown man, was still carrying this and he was finding it real difficult to show emotion. And so he was mimicking the part of his father that he didn't like, So he started working on that, and he said to me afterwards, it's funny because he broke that chain. He says, I know, I didn't realise it. I was turning into the exact copycat version of my father that I didn't like because he was so cold. But he was doing the same thing because he didn't want to be hurt again. He was hurt with his father. He was so cold. He didn't want to be hurt. So he was doing the same thing. So he was going to pass it on again. And, I think he's gone full circle now. He loves everybody. Love. I know. So we laugh at that. But he did say to me one day when we're speaking, he says, do you know something in hindsight? He says, I began to think I used to be 6'2" and I feel about 5'3" now because of the way he was carrying the weight of the world on his shoulders, and he was letting it drag him down. Now he's like a new man today. He's like a new man, and he doesn't care now. Doesn't care what people think. But he himself admits he feels lighter in himself. He doesn't mask anything. He's just himself. He's let all that go. He's realised his father didn't mean that. It was just the way he was. His grandfather was the same. Grandfather before that was the same. Just don't keep taking things personally. That'd be a clue. And just kind of let it go. If the danger is, if you're in a circle of people, say you're in a circle of 6 and 5 of them are holding on to all this stuff from the past, you're going to be immersed in it because all the conversation is negative. Remember the past, remember the past, remember God wanted you looking in the past. Your eyes would be at the back of your head. They're in the front of your face for a reason. Thank you very much. Now, I've given you a lot there. Unpack it, take it seriously, and hope you had a few laughs. Listen back to the jokes. Imagine that 12-year-old. You're a great grandma. She nearly fainted. She thought she meant she was pregnant. A great grandma? You're only 12. Oh, no, I bet you were a brilliant grandma. Anyway, thank you for listening. Take it seriously because you change your life emotionally. Thank you very much. I'll be on during the week sometime. Obviously not Monday because this is Sunday. I'll be on during the week, maybe middle of the week sometime. Look after each other. Try what I'm saying. Thank you. Speak to you soon. Bye for now.